All right, cool. I got this recording. But anyway, that's dope, dude. That's the cool part about this is like you could live anywhere. If you wanted to move tomorrow. Does your wife work too?
She actually is quitting her job.
Oh, love it, dude.
Yeah. I mean, she has a really cush job. It's like 20 hours a week and she can put the 20 hours in whenever she wants. But I've been trying to convince her to quit for like a year and a half now. And she finally is like, all right,
That's cool.
quit. So,
well, you made up the difference now. You don't need the money anymore, right?
no, yeah. Well, she was thinking, I mean, she wants to move to Costa Rica next year. So that's
sick, dude.
Yeah, we'll see if we actually do it, but I'm not as enthused about it. she's
you should do it. That'd be sick. I mean, what's the downside?
Well, yeah. I mean, it would just be for like a year, but
yeah. I mean, you can always it's the same thing I feel about like when I started my business, my agency, I was like, okay, well, I can always knock doors. That's always going to be here. And to this day, if I decided to just go back to that, it's been 10 years, there's still a position waiting for me. So it's like, there's still going to be places to live in Washington, and nothing's going to change, but it's exactly the change, right?
Yep.
Anyway, guys, welcome to the call. I'm freaking pumped. I'm in Southern California right now. It's beautiful right now. It's not as hot as I like it. That's why I'm wearing a little jacket. But I'm digging it. So a couple things really quick, and then I'm going to jump into this interview with Mr. Jerry Ward, which, by the way, this is going to be an amazing one, and we're going to dive into some higher level stuff. We've actually done, for those of you that are newer or maybe didn't catch it, we've actually done an interview with Jerry when you were in Mexico, I believe.
Yep.
And I love catching people when they get their first deal because you can just feel that energy. And so I think that was like right close to when you got like your, I don't know, first, second, or third. It was like right in the beginning.
Yeah.
And since then you've just been.
It was like my first real deal. It was like how I felt about it. It was like my first.
Like pre-sale or what?
Yeah, it was like my first big boy deal. Is kind of how I felt about it.
I know the feeling, dude. You want to make sure it's a clean one. So before I do that though, I got to share a couple of announcements. Okay. So I want you guys to know that my goal for this particular group, and I know that, and I made a post. You guys probably saw my post, and I was like bragging on information vultures and all that kind of stuff. And I wasn't talking to all of you, by the way. The reason that I made that post is because I'm in a lot of the same free groups that all of you are in. And I see you guys going from group to group to group, and I love it. It's great to ask questions, but you also got to realize like each one of these groups has a different philosophy. Each one of these people that runs these groups teaches something different, and they have a different intention to their group. And so they're teaching different things. And so my thing is like, just pick something and add value. You can ask questions, but like don't just take. And so that's what I want. And if that means like you don't vibe with my stuff, I would rather you go to another group and just follow whatever that person is saying and do it until the end of the year and see what happens. And then maybe come try this group. Like that's a better option than going group to group to group to group and just getting confused. Okay. What I would ask you to do though, as you're making your selection of where you're going to spend your time, who you're going to listen to, ask the question that I always ask, which is, if I'm going to take advice from anybody, have they done the thing that I want to do? Have they accomplished something that I want to do? And so when I bought my first program, my first question was, hey, this is great. I know the person running this is a multimillionaire. Did they make their millions selling lead generation, or did they make their millions selling a program? Right. And if they made their millions selling a program, I just have to take everything with a grain of salt, because they're not going to know what it's like out in the freaking battlefield because they haven't been in the game. Right. And so guys, just be smart. But the reason I'm bringing that up is I'm not lying. My goal for this group is to provide better content for free than the other groups that you guys pay for provide. And I've had people, I literally, one of the guys in this group, he messaged me and he's like, dude, He's like, do you ever feel like you're providing too much? And this isn't, I'm not saying this to like, this is literally the conversation we had. He said, do you ever feel like you're providing too much value? Like you're sharing too much? He's like, I'm in a lot of groups and I'm in a lot of paid groups. And like, you're sharing a lot of stuff in your free group, because he's not in my paid group. He's not even in this business. He's just observing. And I'm like, no, I never feel like that, because I'm always adding more. I'm always refining. I'm always changing. So I'm never going to feel like that. So the reason I'm saying this is my goal is this group is going to have better content for free than all the other bullshit paid groups that you guys are paying for. Okay. Paid groups, paid courses. That's what I want to do. I want to have better content, better, more valuable, practical stuff in this group than those groups. Why? Because I'm selfish, right? Because at the end of the day, if my stuff's so good for free, you're going to go, oh, damn, that's his free stuff. Wonder what his paid stuff's like. That, and we're going to talk about that, because I know Jerry kind of was like in that same boat for a while. And he was just like, munching on the free stuff. And then finally he's like, you know what? I'm going to treat myself to a little Christmas present. And on Christmas, I was it Christmas Eve or Christmas Day? You're like, bro, I need to get in.
Christmas Eve, man.
Christmas Eve. I remember I was at my parents' house. I'm like, yeah, bro, here's the link. And then you're like, okay, yeah. Yep. In fact, I still owe you a Zoom call, because I told you, I'm like, okay, I'll onboard you. We'll do a Zoom call later. So, and you told me you're gonna wait till the time is right. So we're probably getting there.
Yeah. Time's got to get right.
The reason why I'm saying that is, here's what we're going to do. This is going to be really, really cool. After sometime this evening or tomorrow, you are going to see a post from me. Okay. And here's what we're going to start doing is, I've realized, because our group is growing so rapidly, I have realized that we're getting people from all different levels, right? We're getting people who just want to check out Rank and Rent. We're getting people who are just starting in Rank and Rent. We're getting people that have been doing Rank and Rent for a while, but now they're sucked down the SEO hole. We've got people who have a bunch of commission deals, but they don't know how to, like, we have all these people at different stages, right? And so it's difficult for me to be able to speak to everybody the way I'd like to. And so here's what we're going to start doing is, once a week, this post that you guys are going to see is going to be a form. It's not an application, it's a list. And you guys are going to go in, there's going to be some questions. It's going to ask you a bunch of information about where you're at in your journey, your name, all that good stuff. And then, where are you at? Are you convinced that Rank and Rent is the thing? Are you just dabbling? Are you just checking it out? And then based on that, what we're going to start doing is, once a week, during this call, we're going to announce 10 to 15 names, and we are going to do an exclusive free training on Friday just for those people. Okay. There's no pitching during this. This is not, hey, come do this and I'm going to give you a little something and pitch you in no, this is 100% free exclusive training based on where you're at in your journey. There will be no pitching. There's going to be none of that. And I'm not going to be reposting this. This is just going to be 100% exclusive. I'll probably post this stuff into my paid group, but it's not going to be posted here. This is just going to be for those people. So if you guys are interested in additional training with no pitching, that doesn't have, hey, buy this, whatever. When you see this post, go and jump on the list, fill out the form and fill it out completely. And then based on your answers, we're going to put you in groups. And then every Wednesday, we're going to announce the 10 to 15 names that are going to be invited to that training. It's going to be 100% exclusive. And the training is going to be either by myself or by somebody who has done the thing. Okay. I'm not going to let somebody train you that's making no money. Okay. Like most of these other groups, that people that are the admins, people are the trainers that don't know how to make a damn sale, which is bizarre to me. You guys all know what I'm talking about. We're not going to go any further. So watch for that post. It's going to be awesome. That should happen either tonight or tomorrow. And that's just going to be an additional thing. And guys, I am going to show you by doing this what it's like to give free value up front. I talk about this. That's part of our process. Give business owners value up front before you ask for the deal. I'm going to show you what that's like in this context. I am going to give you such immense value that it's far better than any paid group you could purchase from anybody else, just with my free stuff. Okay. So if anyone has any questions on that, of course, go ahead and you can ask it. I'll probably answer at the end. Let's jump into this. Thanks for the long-winded housekeeping item there, Jerry. So yeah, let's talk about that really quick because so by the way, guys, just to set some context, Jerry, welcome to the call. This is Jerry Ward. He's in Washington. What city? Spokane. So isn't that where they filmed Twilight?
No, that's also on the other side. It's Forks, I guess. It's like on the
Forks, bro.
west side. I'm on the east side. I'm like close to Idaho.
Okay.
Coeur d'Alene.
Okay. For the record, just a hack. When I was in high school, I saw that book just like, just get super popular. And I'm like, yo, I'm reading all of these books because I know these girls are going to try and pull some shenanigans. Dude, I read all of them, right? I think I was probably the only guy in my entire school that read them. I blew through them. Loved them, dude. They were dope. Okay. Did not expect Edward to look that freaking unattractive when the movie came out. However, he killed it in Batman.
He did kill it in Batman.
But I read it, and dude, I swear on my life, had this girl, like one of those little like 8th grade like girlfriends, if you can call it that. And I think it was like 2 years later, we were talking, and she starts pulling out one-liners verbatim from the book. And I'm like, dude, you don't even know me. I've read the book, and you're using one-liners from the books. I've read them. Like,
wow.
These girls underestimated me. Anyway, so just fun. Anyway, so Jerry has a dope story. We're gonna go over it really quick. For his like story, I think you guys should check out his interview we did. What date was that when we did that interview? You were in Mexico.
I think it was like, gosh, it was like February 15th or something. It was like middle of February.
That's insane.
Yeah. I know. I can't believe it's already been 2 months, over 2 months, 2.5 months.
It's insane. It's already been that much, but it's insane how much you've accomplished in that period of time.
Yeah.
But if you guys need to go check that out to see like, okay, that's when he like got going, and look at what he's been able to do in these couple of months. So for the full story of like, how he got into it and all that, we'll probably briefly touch it in this. But in this one, I want to talk more like tactical, more of the things that you've learned, the things that you've applied. But anyway, so we did this interview. Where were you at as far as revenue wise, like January 1st?
January 1st, we were up and down like everything, because we were in the majority of my clients were, I had some pay, or I had some flat fee, but most of them were commission based. And so I was literally like talking to them every week, every month, following up on their deals, and it was a pain in the butt. So we were hovering between 10 to 12,
Yep.
10 to 12.
And you are now close to 30.
Yeah. My goal is to do 30. We've already passed 30 this month. But it's not all flat fee. So I'm at like 26, 27 in flat fee. My goal is to get to 30 in flat fee by the end of this month. Because I want to hit 40. I want to hit 40. I still have one commission deal left, and it's like, it's a pool site that like I threw up, free pool site, and for every pool he lands, he pays me 10K. And so he paid me 10K. He's probably going to land another one for next month for 10K. So, but now he's like, maybe we should put this on a retainer. Like, I'll pay you. Yeah. He's like, I'll pay you 5K a month. And I was like, dude, I'm down for that. As long as it's 5K a month all year round, then I'm really down for that. So
that's crazy. So he's almost at 30K, right? But what's interesting is basically since January 1st, you have added $17,000 on the nose of flat fee lead generation deals, which means you own the assets, the cards are on file. I'm guessing a lot of those are weekly charges, which means you're probably actually making a little bit more than you're even accounting for.
Right.
and like like in my opinion, the cleanest of it's like the holy of holies, dude. Like it's like I don't know, when I used to sell alarm systems, you'd get like the full package, every bell and whistle on auto pay and at perfect credit. You're like, you get paid the most amount of money for those deals. I feel like you got really clean business. Because then there's also the deals where it's like, oh, it's a commission deal, and it's like, yeah, I'm getting paid sometimes. Most of the time, I'm just chasing money, or I'm getting like, those are clean deals. And so I just think it's fascinating that you've been able to do that in that period of time. And I think you said that 17K, there's a total of, is it 15 deals you've done?
Yeah, 15 deals. Yeah, I just closed one today. So 15.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. So when I posted the teaser, he'd only had 14, and then he decided to show off and go sneak another deal before this call, which is sick. Okay, here's what I want to ask you. It remind me when you originally got into Rank and Rent, like what year, what month? Because it was like a while ago, right?
Yeah, me and my business partner purchased the program for Rank and Rent back in.
Not mine.
Nope, not yours.
Your first one.
Yours didn't exist yet, man. But if it did,
yeah, dude,
I'd be in a way better spot now.
I purchased that same program about the same time.
Yeah, it was
so what year?
August of 2019.
Okay, so it was a little bit later. Okay,
yep.
So here's what I want to ask you. From August of 2019 until January of 2022, it takes you that long to get to 10K.
Yeah, man.
And then
makes me sick to my stomach. Yeah.
Okay, and then in 3.5 months, you go from 10 to, let's call it 27. So you 2.5x in 3.5 months, damn near, like basically in quarter one.
Yep.
So that's what I want to dig into, because first of all, it's interesting. And I always say this, I always tell people, I'm like, they tell me their goals and I'm like, hey, you are way closer to 30K than you think you are, because all you got to do is you got to figure out your process and you got to get good at it, and you will go. And I told you, you heard my story. I went from basically the same as you, 8 to 10K. And then I made 7 figures in 2020 because I figured it out. What do you think the number one thing that's just clicked for you? Because clearly something has clicked, right? I mean, that's ridiculous. Like imagine if you were able to duplicate that for the rest of the year, you're going to be.
That's the goal, man.
Yeah. That's the crazy part, is like, there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to. Like, I don't feel like you've been consistent, but it's not like you've just like, you didn't have one of those like, like in basketball, people had those like games where you're like, dude, that was the game of their life. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like you've been consistent, but I don't feel like you've had the game of your life, which is the exciting part. I feel like you've just been solid. And so if you stay consistent and then maybe one of these quarters, you do have the quarter of your life, it gets really interesting. So what do you think the number one thing is for everybody that's listening? That's like maybe in that same situation of like, maybe they're at 5 and they struggle to get to 5. They kind of pieced it together, and I'm guessing your 8 to 10 was not that solid. Even then you probably were like, I don't even know, like your wife was still working and all this stuff. What's the number one thing that you think is a difference, like that clicked for you?
Yeah, it was, I mean, that's the thing, is like, I was in your free group for maybe a week, maybe a week and a half. And just seeing, I can't even remember what video I watched, but I watched, a video, someone killing it, and just thinking, and what they talked about was the sales process. And I knew that that's where our hiccup was. Like, we were good at delivering, but I was never confident, and I didn't see the value, I guess, in the product that I was selling. I guess to be quite honest, like I was consistently underselling myself. And so that's why I kept settling for percentage deals. That's why I kept, commission deals. That's why I kept settling for, I mean, my flat fee deals are tiny, like compared to what they should have been, and it was just because I didn't understand that. And so what really, I feel like made that all click was once I jumped into the group, seeing a sales process from start to finish that was, I could do over and over again. Replicatable.
Yeah.
There's another word that I'm trying to think
Yeah,
of.
I've always wondered, is it replicatable? Is duplicatable? I don't know.
Duplicatable, yeah.
Duplicatable? Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
But yeah, so English isn't my strong suit. So no.
No, you're good.
But yeah, and then also, yeah, the lead value calculator, like it was in my other group, but not really explained well for me. Like that part didn't click either. And so it was like when, I don't know, watching those videos, your videos, and that's kind of when I was like, oh my gosh, like I am way undervaluing. And like I remember like my first, like my big boy deal or whatever you want to call it, when I was in Mexico, like I was scared out of my mind to even ask for that much, even though the value was definitely there. Like,
yeah, those are like, those are like huge jobs. And it was like a $2,500 deal or something like that.
Yeah, it was actually 2,700 because it was 625 a week.
Okay.
So technically 2,700.
Yeah.
But well, the thing is like I actually met because they're down in Boise.
Okay.
And so I went down to Boise because that's where my in-laws are. And I met with them. I took them out to lunch actually, which I don't typically do. I don't really, but I just was like, I was curious to know how it was going because they're like my first one in this niche specifically. And, I sat down with them and I was like, how's it going? And she's like, well, good. We've landed 2. And I was like, that's not good. Like in my mind, I was like, only two deals. Like I sent you like 30 plus leads, in this time. And she's like, yeah, but one is like 280,000. And then the other one was just a shop that he wanted us to build for 100,000.
Just 100K, no big deal.
Yeah. But then he wanted us to build a church for him too. Okay. And that was like 650,000. So like in 2 months, they essentially, got over $1 million added, not net, but, gross to their business.
So dude, that's insane, by the way. Like, and by the way, like I've had clients that have made like 96K in 1 month. And I was like blown away, but that's another level. Let me ask you this. Why do you think you didn't value what you were offering? Like, do you think it was because you had never like thought it through? Do you feel like it's because I know in the other group, it's always like, hey, the path of least resistance is go get a commission deal. Go get a commission deal because it's the easiest thing. And then you can convert it later, which by the way, guys, do not do that. It's not easy. I'm telling you, it's way harder.
It's the worst.
Am I wrong? Is it way harder to go commission to flat than just go flat from the get-go?
Yeah, man. I mean, so it's funny that I have 2 things to say to this actually.
Yeah, say it.
So your first part of your question, you asked about, what did you say?
I said, why do you think, because I don't think you're the only one that undervalues.
Oh, that's right. The undervaluing.
Why is that?
Yeah. So I think the reason is because I was targeting business owners that were poor, essentially. I was targeting business owners that didn't see the value because they weren't, they weren't purchasing leads. They weren't, paying for advertising. They weren't, marketing for their business. And so here I am trying to sell them on something that they're not even doing, and that's why, I was way undervaluing my what I had to offer.
Got it.
But now I only target people, like if they're not paying for anything, I'm like, I'm not talking with you. Like there's no reason to.
Yep.
So that was the first part. And then the second part, so I have a client who's extremely honest. Like it's kind of like a hybrid model. Like he pays me $1,000 a month regardless. And then it's like a tiered approach. Like he pays me a percentage of what he makes depending on, what he breaks. And so like last month on that site, I made like $3,000, and I was actually complaining about it to my business partner, because I was like, dude, like, because he wants like more leads, he wants whatever, and it's just a mess. Like, it's constantly a mess, and I'm just like having to put way too much time into it. And I'm like, I just want to pay me $1,000 a month. Like, I don't care, about an extra $2,000. Like, I don't. Like, I will go build another site. He can pay me on that one, flat rate. I don't want to be in the weeds about, what he's closed, this, that, and the other thing. And like, I've tried to have that conversation with him. It would save him more money. But he's like, no, man, like, I want to compensate you. I'm like, yeah, but it is just not worth it to me, but
yeah, it's funny. I'm the same way. Like, you're actually, by doing a flat fee, I know the argument, and actually had somebody recently I was on the phone with that joined our flat fee master group, and they said, you know what? I was convinced like pay per lead was the best model, because I knew commission didn't make sense, but like pay per lead, there's no ceiling. And she's like, well, then I started like listening to the videos, and I realized like flat fee, guys, if you guys don't understand why flat fee is the best, you don't value your time. Like, there's no other model like it. Flat fee, I know. Yes, on paper, you're making less money. I get it, right? But with the time you're saving, you don't have to go back and forth. It's just, it is what it is. And you just make sure to let them know, hey, in the winter, it's going to be a little bit slower. Don't call me on Christmas. Okay. Ha ha ha. By the way, in the spring, it's going to be a lot better. I'm not going to bug you. We on the same page? Cool. And if you do that, then it's great. And you have some good communication, whatever. But yeah, I totally agree. So for you, the biggest thing is like just valuing, like figuring out, okay, this is worth way more than I even believe myself. And then as soon as you believe that, then you started going for the higher fees.
Yep.
And I mean, I'm sure like, if you don't know what it's worth, when you're selling it, but you're like, it's easier to believe their objections, right?
Yep.
Grant Cardone says sell or be sold, right? So if you walk away from a deal without a credit card, you got sold, right?
Yep.
And they didn't. So it's easier to get sold on why they shouldn't go for it than why they should have the credit card on file. Because now I bet you're the same as me. Like, if you go through the whole process, you send 3-4 jobs, and I know you are because you told me this, and you get to the end and you don't get the deal, you're like scratching your head like, dude, that guy's an idiot.
It's right? True. 100%.
Yeah.
Dude, I haven't lost a deal. Like, I was actually because my business partner decided to sell too, because we have some massive goals. And so, we've been going for those. And like, I have not, if they show up, I haven't lost one. Like, I'm thinking there's one guy that ghosted me halfway through the call, which was really obnoxious, but like, and I still am like, it just eats at me, because I'm like, why did you get off? Like, I hadn't even gotten to my pitch yet. Like,
yeah.
And so I was super confused, but yeah, like I literally, if I'm getting on and, they've followed the process, like, I know I'm closing. So I don't know what I'm going to close for, but I'm going to close. I'm coming out with a credit card. I'm coming out with some sort of whatever,
And what's fascinating, I remember your other interview we did, and you told, or no, this is just a conversation me and you had. And I asked you, your business partner, he does have a little bit of sales experience, right? But I can't remember. I think you had none.
I have retention experience. I wouldn't even call it sales, because it's like,
you were calling current clients, like upselling them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That is, let's call it customer service, right? Like,
that's exactly what it is. 100%. And I'm really good at that.
But dude, listen to you. Like, you're like, okay, I haven't lost a deal in 3 months or whatever. That's listened to me. I mean, that's incredible, dude.
Well, yeah, like, I mean, so when I first got into the thing, like, the thing is that I had generated a crap ton of leads, like, on Facebook. Actually, there's a guy in here there. He did a live like 2 weeks ago with Sean. And he was talking about how he closed people through Facebook, and I wanted to watch that. And so that reminds me, I need to watch that, because I've been, or like prior to jumping into this, I was like posting in Facebook groups, like and so I had a bunch of leads, right, that I had already generated from doing that. And so when I started your program, I started with those guys in mind. I started practicing on them.
Got it.
And they were all sold, like 100% sold. But the problem is none of them had money, like legit had no money, didn't have a credit card, like we're broke. And so I was like, this is annoying because like, I know they're sold. Like they'd be calling me every day. You haven't sold that to someone else yet. You haven't sold that to someone else yet. You haven't sold, I'd be like, no, but dude, do you have the money? Like, if you don't have the money, I'm not doing anything, And so that after, I'd done 3 of those, I'd done 3 of them and like realized, like I'm good at selling it. I just need to find people that actually have the money. That's when I started, targeting people that actually pay for stuff. So
yeah, sounds like it's kind of twofold. Is like you realized, hey, this is worth way more because I've talked to clients that have made basically $1 million for my leads. So it's worth a lot. And then B, you started talking to the right people. Basically, you got better at qualifying.
Yep.
Right.
Yes.
So
100%.
I believe that fully. And I did a video. I think I put this video on YouTube. You don't actually suck at sales. You just haven't done it enough and you haven't done it correctly. Right. And so the reason people hate sales is because they got stuck at a cubicle with a phone with a list that sucks. Right. Like, hey, go to Google, type in concrete in Minneapolis and start calling. Well, no wonder you hate it, dude, because I would hate it too. Right. It's like door-to-door sales. But now, I don't know about you, but when I'm calling my list that we teach how to build, dude, I don't even get those first couple, I get a little bit of butterflies, but after that, I'm like, dude, I'm just having conversations. Like, it doesn't even scare me. And I don't like that initial call. To this day, I love to close, right?
Yep.
I do not love, I don't love that prospecting call.
Yeah.
But dude, it's so much easier when those people are interested. And they're interested because they're already paying for what you're selling.
Well, and they're getting on the call too, right? Like, so it's like, especially because if you send the video, they watch the video.
But I'm sorry, I'm talking about that initial prospecting call.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like that. Yeah. That is the thing that I think.
Sorry, you're right. Absolutely right.
Yep. That holds people back because they're like, well, that is I think the scariest part because they don't know you and everything. But when they're interested because they're already paying, it's like, dude, it's night and day, right?
True. I still hate prospecting personally, and that's kind of like the deal that me and my partner set up, because he still hates the close, even though he's closed 2 of his own, since following the process, he still hates it. And so I'm like, all right, dude, you just prospect. And I will close. Send them to me. I will close all day long.
And for anyone that's watched because there's a couple people that have posted their actual closes. Like Elvis posted his close. I posted my duct cleaning close, and I think my bro close with my handyman. And I think Borhan posted one of his closes. But you watch these closes, and you're like, dude, these are fake. These are a setup. These are actors, right?
Yeah. For sure. Well, that's how it feels, man.
It does. And so I want you to talk about that really quick. Cause in your head, I'm assuming you probably thought like I used to think that closing was that big, huge, okay, come ready, get hyped up. They're going to give an objection. You're going to come back with a rebuttal and you got to just be on your game. And I did sales like that because I didn't overcome any objections. I got to the closing table and then it was battle zone, right?
Yeah.
It sucked, dude. I had to be so mentally sharp. Talk about that, dude. I hate saying, yeah, it's easy, but if you do the process correctly, dude, those closes are freaking easy. I hate to say that, but I'd be lying telling you that they're not.
Well, yeah, no, it's you're 100% true or 100% correct. That's the thing is so I had one 3 weeks ago, and it was my first one that I actually have a buddy of mine that's prospecting for me. Because again, I hate prospecting. So he's prospecting, and then I'm paying him a commission off of the ones I close. And so far, the 2 that he's brought to the table, I've closed. So he's like, man, this is great. This is awesome. but he teed up one for me, and the guy watched the whole video. You know, he was all teed up, like everything. He'd gone through everything, gotten a couple. He actually closed one, right?
Okay.
So I was like thinking, this is going to be cake. Like this, I mean, I don't even have to follow the process completely if I didn't want to, you know. It was what I was thinking in my head, but no, I, you know, stuck to the process and was going through the questions, and like he like kept interrupting me and was like giving me all these reasons why this has never worked for him in the past, and you know, blah 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 blah. And he was like totally taking control of the conversation, and like little Nick Wood Angel, you know, like popped on my shoulder and was like, you need to do a pullback.
Yeah, I love that, dude.
So I literally was like, hey, I'm super confused, man. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, you got on this call with me, and it sounds like you don't want leads. Like you don't want, you know, what I have to offer. So if that's the case, we don't have to do this. Like you don't need to buy these. You know, we don't need to strike up a deal. We don't need to work together like that. That's totally fine, man. I'm just super confused because right now you're telling me all the reasons why, you know, leads suck. So, and it was crazy because as soon as I said that, whoa, that's not what I'm saying. And like, he started like backpedaling on everything. And then he was telling me on why he wanted the leads, why he wanted to, you know, work with me. And I was like, and so then I was like, all right, perfect. You know, grab your credit card. Like, let's move forward. But it was interesting. But the thing is like, you scripted it all out. So it's like, when I see those things, it's like, it triggers me. Okay, I need to say this, you know, at this point. And it just makes it so much more fluid, so much easier. So
dude, I mean, we could have it. I could talk for hours on the pullback. The pullback is such a gangster tool. And it works in every type of relationship. So be careful. Once you get good at it, you just don't overuse it. Don't abuse it. There's some like 18-year-olds in here. They're like, oh, I'm going to go start slaying. So when I say this, or you say this, or we talk about like following a process, like to me, so I know how it sounds. People like, oh, again, the process, like it sounds so stupid.
Yeah.
And it sounds so lame. But like when I hear that, I get excited because to me, I'm like, it's a process. It's like a money machine. But I know, like, I remember being in other groups that like, just follow the process. I'm like, I swear if I hear this again, I will take my pen and I will stab my computer screen and I'm not listening to another live. Talk to me or talk to everybody. Like, it sounds like you've kind of gotten the bug of like, if you just like master that process. I mean, we should come up with a new word, because when you say process, it's like negative connotation, but the process, like these steps, let's call it the steps, right?
Let's master the steps.
Yeah. If you master and follow these steps, like at the end of it, it just spits out a deal. It's like this machine. And if you just do all the buttons, then at the end, there's money. It's like you literally print money. So, and I could tell that you've understood and you've believed and listened to what I've said, which is, I don't care if this person acts like they're good to go, they're buying, or if this person like says things that make me think they're no interest in buying, I am following my process to a T. I don't care. Yep. I always follow it because I know that people have to go through that process, through those steps to get a deal. So talk to me about like how important you feel like having a process and mastering a process. And guys, for the record, I don't believe I have the only process that works. I don't. There are other processes that work. The reason why I like this one is because it eliminates all the things I hate, which is I hate calling people out of the blue and just like pitching them, like, you know, like you think you would have to do. I like calling them with something in my hand. And then number two is I hate hard closing. I hate high pressure. I hate all that. And this process allows me to literally get the answer and hard close without hard closing. Like I always get an answer, but I never feel like I'm pushing them. So I'm not saying my process is the only one. There's other processes I know, I'm sure that work. I actually haven't discovered them that like, if you have them, great. But I know there's got to be other stuff that works, but just like talk to me and talk to everybody about the importance of having that process. Like, how much more confidence does it give you? Did you think that it was necessary when you started? Like, just talk about that. I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I just have so many thoughts going in my head all at the same time.
And get it out of people's head, because when you hear it, it sounds boring. You're like, oh my gosh, a process. But like, I think it sounds incredible because it's like a money machine.
No, it is 100%. Like the thing that I love about it is it's legitimately step by step. Like in other programs that I've been in, like they'll be like, oh, it's step by step, it's step by step. And then as I like digging into the program, I'm like, because I bought a lot of programs. I'll just put that out there. I bought a lot.
Yeah.
And freaking expensive ones. And like as every time I get into the program, start digging it up, like there would be missing spots, right? And I'd be like, I'm doing everything according to what is being said, but I am still not having the results that, I need to have. And in this situation, like I do get the results, I guess, like, especially as you get your reps in, like, I honestly feel like prospecting the people that weren't ready or that didn't have the money was like the best thing ever, because like I got my reps in, like was able to kind of solidify like how I was saying things. And I'm still not like perfect at it by any means. Like I know I skip steps still, but like you always say, this it's in the setup more than it is in the close.
Shout out to Dan Bilzerian.
Yeah, but it's true. Like that's the thing, is like that's why I'm so confident going into it, is because they're closed prior to jumping on the call. Jumping on the call is just, a means to grab their credit card, essentially. It's how I feel about it. But
yeah, I remember when I did door-to-door sales, they had a different name for it. They would call it your walkthrough. So like they wouldn't use the word process, but we'd call it like you script out your walkthrough from the time that you knock on the door, what you're going to say, to where you're going to put your binder, and then what stories. And I was like, oh, that sounds terrible. They're like, you need to write it on a piece of paper and practice. I'm like, that sounds terrible. Like, I wish they would have just given it to me. But now I see having it, it's like, I view it now, it's like a money machine. And I'm just like, how do I refine it and refine it and refine it? Because it's literally this machine that if I just follow it, it spits out deals and it spits out deals. And I've used this example like a couple of years ago when I didn't do this. If you would have said, hey, Nick, I need you to get $10,000 in new business next month. If you do it, I'm going to give you X, Y, and Z. If you don't, something bad's going to happen to you. I would never be able to take that deal. But if you came to me right now and you're like, hey, I need you to get $50,000 in new deals next month in 30 days, or I'm going to kill you, or kill your family, like some extreme thing.
So morbid.
I literally would feel confident taking the deal, because I know that it's just math now. Yes, I would have to change a few things. I'd have to get another closer. I'd have to get another setter, maybe two. I'd have to have more campaigns, but it's just numbers, right? And so having that process is, to me, it's like a confidence thing. It's a comfort thing. And again, it's having a process. This happens to be a damn good one, but you need to have a process. And I think that's the missing piece for most people, is like, they don't have one. They've heard, try this, try this, try this, try this, try this. And that you're trying a little bit of everything and none of it's working and you're frustrated.
Right. Well, and then there's like the steps, right? Like, so the thing is like, I mean, I've definitely I have sales scripts that I've gotten from, other groups that I've been in, and they're very similar, to the sales script. The sales script is not very much or not super different, but the difference is I know what to say when certain things happen. Like, and I feel like that's the missing piece. Like, for example, like with that one guy, 6 months ago, I would have been so afraid of losing that deal. I would have been trying to say whatever I could have said to close him. But because of, learning in this group, like, don't be afraid to lose it. Like, have no fear to lose it. And, you have all the power essentially. I was not afraid to walk away from the deal. And that's what got me the deal. Essentially, I started pulling back saying, hey man, like you can get off the phone now. Like, there's no reason for me to be talking to you right now. And that's what closed it. Whereas like I've had sales scripts in the past where I was like, and that's just like one of the many facets, right? Like that you teach and kind of drill into our heads. But those things are what make the difference in the script. And those are the things that you need to know in order to win.
Yeah. I like
so
that.
yeah.
So, dude, I can't believe it's already been fit. I have a lot of things I want to ask you, but I want to get into like a couple of like tactical things. Okay. So what do you think? Like, let's share some stuff, different questions that I've never asked before. Okay. What is something that you feel like you're doing different than, and maybe there's not, but I'm guessing there is. What is one thing that you feel like you're doing different than everybody else? Whether it's maybe a niche you're going after, maybe it's a way that you're saying something, maybe it's a routine. Like, what's one thing that you feel like you're doing differently than everybody else that you feel like is giving you an edge? Or
I would say, so the pack that we actually started making, I'd say about a month and a half ago, is to get a yes a day. And what that means is to get someone on the hook every day. And because of that, like, it's a numbers game, right? The more yeses you get, the more opportunities you have to, pitch, the more opportunities you have to close. And so I feel like that is kind of like been kind of our mantra right now. It's like, okay, did you get your yes today? We can't go to the gym until we get a yes. Like, because I don't have, my calendar booked of sales appointments, every day yet. Like, that's the goal, but it's not there yet. And so what can I do? I can get a yes, get someone on the hook, and then, start feeding them leads or whatever to then progress that to a sales call.
So every day you're like, I got it for this day to feel like I've checked the box. Like, yeah, I'm not going to always have a sales call because I like, with the way that things add up and everything with leads coming in, I'm not always going to have a chance to ask for money, but what I can control is getting a yes on a hook.
Yep.
I love that, dude. And I would consider that like, that's as close to, that's like, hey, you need to get an offer a day, but like, okay, cool. You don't have, maybe, that's something in your control. Cause like a lot of times you don't have that chance necessarily to get that, I mean, yeah, you can call one of your current clients and be like, hey, we're offering some weird shit. You want to do it?
Yeah.
Like, just to check the box, but like, yeah, I know what you're saying. I like that. So every day, get a yes, and just get in the habit of get that muscle of that yes, getting that just ripping, just jacked.
Right. Yeah. Cause it's the thing I hate to do the most too. So it's like, I try to do it in the morning. I actually like to go to the gym like in the afternoon. And so like, I try to get that yes in the morning so then I can go to the gym. If I don't have a yes, then I just got to keep going until I get one. So
I love that. Okay. I like that. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Here's another question I have. Did you, when you set your goals, because you have some pretty like big goals, and I know they are, did you ever think, who, like, just real talk from like a mindset, did you ever feel like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, I'm setting these goals, but like, who am I to set these goals? Did you ever have any like that imposter type thing? I'm curious. Or did you always
definitely the imposter? Yeah, for sure. Because I've set these goals many times. Like I've had these dreams, these thoughts, these ambitions for a long time. And so I'd always set these goals and then fall super, super short. Or, I mean, not always, but a majority of the time, yes. And so This year has just been super exciting because this is the first time where it's like I'm setting a goal and I'm like, I have a good shot of actually hitting this goal and possibly surpassing this goal if I can really get things dialed in. And
Tell everyone what your goal is, by the way.
Well, so initially, I lied to Nick actually a while back. I'm a liar. I'm just gonna say it out loud now. He asked, you asked me this question a while back, and I said 125,000, and you're like, well, did you say that just to beat me, whatever? And I was like, no, like, but really my goal was 100,000, but I wanted to be 125,000, just to basically just, set that benchmark. But yeah, I mean, I still have a long way to go. There's a lot of things that I have to dial in to hit that. I'm working on really hard to do that. We'll see what the end of the year brings. I'm excited with, the steps we've made in just the past 90 days, essentially. Well, a little past 90 days.
Yeah, that's incredible. I love that. Yeah. I love that. So another question was, this is for people that are newer, what's one thing that surprised you about the rank and rent model that you didn't consider when you jumped into it? So like, for example, I've never told anyone, hey, this is what I do. I build these sites, I rent them out. It costs me very little and I make fat margins. I've never had anyone say that's a stupid idea, right? Like, it just makes sense. Right. But what's one thing that, like, now that you've been in the game for a couple of years, what's one thing that you never considered, that you didn't realize maybe that you would have to deal with, or that you didn't see? Maybe it's a downside, maybe it's an upside. What's one thing that you didn't know about rank and rent that now you do? I know that's kind of a weird question, but like, I'm talking about people that are just getting in, because I think the reason I'm asking this question, I think a lot of people get sold a bag of shit. Is they get in and they're like, yeah, you just build these sites, and it's easy to get jacked on the idea because it's a dope model, right?
Right.
But I think we're I don't want to say lied to, but we're led to believe that, like, you're going to build these sites and people are just going to flock to you. Like probably, like, so, I mean, maybe that was it, but like, what was the thing that surprised you the most about rank and rent? And I don't care if this discourages somebody, because I'll tell you right now, it ain't. If you think you're going to build a site and they're just going to come flocking, don't.
But dude, I'm probably the best person to set up for that too, because I built I set big goals, right? So our goal, is to be making 100,000 a month. And we're like, well, how do we do that? This was, a year. Let's see. This was back in April of 2020.
Okay.
And so what we thought, were like, well, we started off with like 40 sites, and we're like, okay, cool. We built up 40 sites. We've got a few of them rented out, or, we're getting money from them, by however, whether it's a commission deal or what have you. And we were seeing success there. And so I was like, so we're just like, well, what are the odds? Like, we had 40 sites and we have like 7 or 8 of them ranked out. So we like figured out that math, and we're like, okay, what if we built 800 websites? Like, that means, that percentage should translate, and we should be able to get those all, rented out. And so we figured out a way to build 800 sites, and we did it in like 5 months. 800 one-pagers, got all the domains, like, jumped in, guns blazing. We were on the Grant Cardone train, 10xing our goals so we could, for sure succeed. And I wouldn't say it was a mistake. Like, we learned a ton doing that. We definitely learned what niches not to do. And we learned like how to think outside the box to produce that many that quick. And we found some niches that were solid, that are, will work, can work, I should say. Maybe not the best, but they still work. Because every niche has its issues, right? But yeah, if you were to ask me if I were to do that now, hell no, I would never do that. Like never, because there's so many, it's a way better process of testing it before you even jump in the city, testing the niche before you even try to, yeah. And the thing was, we didn't even have a process to sell these things. Like, I mean, I had some success, but not like ample success. And I didn't have a proven system. So I don't know how we were thinking we were going to, get all these sold. Like we thought, yeah, exactly like what you said. People were just going to line up and we're just going to be like, here you go, pay me X amount of dollars for this,
Yeah. So if I translate that, it's basically like the biggest thing for you is you assume that like just by increasing your, I guess it would be your inputs or your activity, that you would automatically make more money. And that's not the case. It's about, I guess this kind of goes back to what we talked about yesterday, which is like doing effective things versus being efficient, right? And you were very efficient.
For sure. Well, because let me tell you, man, that was a fun like 4 to 6 months. I mean, we're in our office, we had ESPN going, March Madness was going in the background, and we're just building sites and like, man, it's gonna be great. Like, naively just thinking like, oh man, in about a year from now, we're gonna be living life. And then that reality came pretty quick, and we're like, awesome. Now we have all these domains we have to renew. So,
if I were to start again today, by the way, I just scrapped 125 of my sites.
Yeah, we actually are, every day we're like getting rid of some at night. Just and
it sucks, dude. It's painful. It's like losing. You're like, I put all this.
It is, man. You put so much like backlinks and everything. I'm like, we've looked at all our options, like, and I'm just like, dude, this blows. But it's a learning experience.
In hindsight, if it were me, if knowing what I know now, I would literally only pre-sell sites. I mean, obviously, because that's the only way it makes sense. And I would, and it's unfair because now I know what niches work. And what's funny is like, I tell everyone the niches that work and people still don't believe it. Like, I think I'm hiding some secret niche. This is where I make all my money. So I got a couple like really quick questions on that. What's your least favorite niche?
Least favorite? Oh, freak. There's so many. Dude. Well, so that's been interesting too, because there's been niches that I've hated, but because of the process, I don't hate them anymore. Like I've kind of recognized, what, like, for example, I hate, like, fencing was what we started in. That's what we built our like initial 40 sites in. Yep. And we're like, oh, we're going to go vertical in fencing, or whatever. And I hated it because frankly, like, there's just a type of contractor for the most part. I can't say all contractors are like that, like all fencing contractors, but the majority of the ones that I talked to, they really didn't care to grow. They didn't have like a vision for their future. And so they didn't want to spend any money. Like, and that was like the worst thing. But like with the process, it's like helped me change my outlook and also change my approach, which helps like tremendously. But yeah, fencing, I mean, we tried everything, dude. Like, I bet you can't name something that we didn't do. Like, I mean, we did eyelash extent. Like, we tried stuff that was just like, we're like, no one's in these. Well, there's a reason. There's a reason no one's in them.
I luckily kind of saw the writing on the wall. I'm like, why don't we just go into the niches we know work, but just go into cities that are obscure as it. Yeah. Okay, here's another weird question. I like, obviously, as you guys know, probably people always ask the same questions. I'm going to ask different ones. What's the worst piece of advice you've gotten in a rank and rent group? Worst piece of advice,
dude. The one we just talked about, man. Honestly,
which is build.
Like, that is shoes on the shelf. Like, I'm like, man, no, never again. Never again.
Okay. And by the way, I wasn't fishing for that answer, but I'd probably concur that's a cool piece of
Yeah.
I by the way, I think everybody knows where that's coming from, but to credit the person that's giving that advice, I think that like in a way, it does help the people that sit on their ass and overthink. So I got to give credit there, but I just don't, that would mean I assume that the intentions are pure, that, hey, I don't sell the shoe leather and the shoelaces and the rubber soles and the everything else, and I'm profiting from it. So yeah, guys, if you know, if your due diligence process is sound and you have niches that you know work, and I'm saying sound because you know what cities are going to work, that's a different story. But I promise you, 9 out of 10 of you that are listening to this right now, you guys have no idea what your due diligence process is, and you guys are building sites me and Jerry wouldn't touch with like Jerry's ex-girlfriend's old like left hand or whatever, right? Like you know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah. Anyway.
Well, yeah. Well, I think that's another thing to mention is freak. Oh gosh, it fell out of my head. Never mind.
Okay, if it comes up, let me know. Anyway, that's kind of a weird question. So let me go through some of these comments really quick. And then we'll wrap this up. We could go for like hours, but I just wanted to ask you, like, I find it fascinating. The biggest thing for me is the fact that like, I'm just looking at your trajectory. And if we looked at it on the graph, like it was like this teeny little whatever, and then you've hockey sticked, right?
Oh yeah, dude, I love watching my Stripe account, man. I love looking at that uptick.
Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, what are the things like, and I'm just so everybody knows, I'm not like this isn't like, I'm not trying to bait Jerry in to be like, oh dude, like what's the secret? And like, dude, make sure to say it's the program. Like, that's not what I'm trying to do. I remember
the other thing, man. There's the obscure niches. Like the riches are in the obscure niches. Like perhaps people have heard that. Like, for sure. I believe that there are niches out there that you can make a ton of money that no one's in. I believe that for sure. But if you want fast and quick, like you got to go into the stuff that's known, right? Like
it's been proven. Just take the same strategy, but do obscure cities.
Exactly.
Because you know the niche works. Now just go. And anyway, that's cool. I like that.
Yep.
Okay. I like how you said perhaps, just in case anyone hasn't, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So real quick. Charles Sears says 2 or 3 niches that work well for a starter. I think we've shared this a lot of times. I love concrete. I love tree service is hard to find cities that haven't been tapped into by local lead generators. I really am into spray foam installations, a dope niche. I don't hide my niches. And again, here's the thing that's different about me than everybody else. A lot of you guys, you go in, you look at the city with tree service and you see another lead generator and you're like, oh, I missed my opportunity. I don't care. I'll still build a website because I know there's more than one business owner that will buy leads from a lead generator. I've made $20,000 in 2 different situations I can think of off the top of my head on 2 different clients, building a website in a city where another lead generator was ranked number 1 or number 2. I still built it and I've made over $20,000 because the due diligence still checked out. I just viewed them as one of my competitors. Some of you guys are getting scared off by these like other people in these groups. I don't care. I just view it as another competitor and I still do it. And so is there any other niche you'd add to concrete, spray foam for starters? Those are good ones. Tree service.
Yeah.
Not tone.
Fencing is a good niche. Like the margins just aren't massive, but like there's tons of lead generators in it. So like literally every city I'm in, I know that there's probably like 2 or 3 other lead
generators. That's how I feel tree services. Like 5 years ago, if we were having this conversation, we could go run we could go pillage tree service, but like it's been hit really hard. There's still opportunities, but yeah, that's a good question, Charles. Edwin says, Nick, what's your favorite niche? My answer to that is the ones that work. And I just told you those ones. Andrew said that his worst piece of advice was also just build as many sites as you can. I think he said that at the exact same time that you said that, Jerry.
Oh, nice.
And let's see what else we got here. I love Andrew's comment. He says, bro, why settle for the 5 at the party when the 10 is asking you to buy her a drink. Team Nick. Yeah. He's referring to the old 10, and it's a 4, not a 5. She's a 4. Okay. Heather says paid group is awesome. If not being out from surgery and a new baby, I think we would have been booking deals. Nick is awesome. Oh, thanks, Heather. Be careful though. You're stroking a narcissist ego. That's dangerous waters, but I like it. Let's see. Okay, Liam says the free group had better content in the first month I joined than most of the other groups had in over 2 years. I totally agree with that, because all the other groups is the carrot dangling shit. Let's see. Cool. I think everything else is just like whatever. Jerry, in closing, because I want to respect your time, I know you got more deals to close. If you were to go back in time and like, let's say you could erase the clock, go back to 2020, whatever, let's say you've been in it a year, you know how to build the site, you know how to generate the lead, because you've been in it a little while, but how do you think you could have gotten those 2 years back? Like, knowing what you know today, what do you think you could have done differently, or what would you do differently? Just one thing what would be the most important thing that you could tell people that you would have done differently? One thing, if you could go back to get you to this hockey stick point 2 years ago instead of now. Is there, what is that? I know there's probably multiple things, like,
Right.
but what's the one biggest thing that if you could go back, that's above all, that's the thing that you would focus on, because that you feel like is getting you that hockey stick more than anything?
Yeah, I would say 100% sales. Like, I would have figured out how to sell what I actually had already. Like, for example, like we built out the first 40. Those were all, I mean, the majority of them were bringing in leads of some sort. Like, there was a way to sell those, prior to. And what did I do? I just kind of put them on the shelf and went out and, built 800 more. Like, looking back at it, it's like the stupidest thing, but it's just like, that's what I did. And yeah, and the funny thing is like, I literally am just now, I think I've sold just about all of my fencing sites just now. So it's like, yeah, pretty.
You know what? I was talking to somebody in one of these other groups. I'm not going to share the name, but I thought it was hilarious. And he was saying, he's like, dude, telling people to build and build and build and build is like building 100 spec homes, and then you turn around and you realize you forgot to put toilets in the mall.
Right.
It's like, what you probably should do is build one and go sell it, and then build like 5 or 3 and go sell those, and make sure that you have a good product, aka a good niche with a good city, before you go build 800 shitty houses.
Yep.
Anyway, I regress. It's true. And I'm glad that you see the vision. I really do believe, like, if people would flip the script and stop focusing so much on, the minutia of the backlinks and the content and the perfect site and the whole thing, and focus that much attention on sales first, it'd be like, I think that we would see people way ahead. If you took 2 sample groups, you said, okay, everyone does it this way right now. Everyone's rank and rent, right? But this group over here, which is what my thesis is rent and rank. And I'm just going to teach you sales, some basic stuff on like how this works. I'm going to have you focus on sales. I'm going to have you guys focus on like getting good at the website piece. I guarantee we'd kick the shit out of this group. Yep. Like give us a year, give us 2 years, give us 5 years. We dominate the group. Like, if you're going head to head,
yep.
People, they want to focus on the thing that's not scary, and that's hiding behind your computer.
Yep. Oh yeah.
100%.
Yep. It is. It's what it is, man. You don't want to admit it, but it's true.
It is. This is what I wanted to do. Like, just to put this in context as we end. Okay. If we didn't even get into this, so we could go for hours, but like, one other thing you guys don't know about Jerry is he's really, really, really good at retention. Like, that's actually what he would consider his strong suit. He's like one of the anomalies that has SEO clients stay with him for years, which is insane. So that's another thing I think that we didn't even mention, but I know that of that 17K, you're going to have a couple cancel. That just happens because they're not going to close leads. They're going to blame you. Something's going to happen. I get it. But let's just say that you keep of that, let's say 15,000. That I don't think that's unrealistic for the systems you have in place and the skills you have to keep clients happy. But like, let's just look at like what kind of damage you've done in a good way to your top line in 3 months. I just wanted to do the math. So let's go 15K. And let's just assume you can keep of the 15K for the next 12 months. I mean, dude, you've added another $180,000, like 3.5 months of put your nose to the grindstone, refine your process, focusing on sales instead of build from somebody that doesn't even have sales experience. And you've added damn near $200,000 to your top line. That should be inspiring for anybody listening to this.
Yeah. For sure, man. I know. Well, that's the thing too, is like last year, I remember I went on a trip for about a week and like thinking like, wow, look at this. Like I am able to do all this stuff and I'm still making like around 10, 11 grand or whatever it was.
Right.
And I didn't do like hardly anything for it, and I remember having that thought and being like, man, it would be so awesome the day that like I have, 100,000 of these, or whatever, just sitting and just going and being able to do what I want to do. And so like, that's why when you are always like, oh, I only spend 4 hours, a week on my business, I believe you because I know that's true. Like,
yeah,
if you get your processes set up, like you don't need to spend a lot of time in that. So
yeah, no, it's exciting. I think people should ask more questions. I think people should trust people less. I think people say you need to trust people. I think you should trust people less. I don't think you should trust me. I think you should, if I'm telling you something, if Jerry's telling you something, you should test it. I think you should think, okay, what like, that's what I believe. I think you should trust people less and not listen to what they say and only trust people or only believe somebody that's done something that you want to do. So if any of you guys have aspirations to make 25, 27K, at least, and to increase 17K in a 3.5 month span, this is your guy. Jerry, you're the man, dude. We're going to get me back on. We're going to talk retention and a whole bunch of other stuff. I can talk for hours. This is dope. Yep. Okay, guys. Yeah, see, Jeff's already asking retention. If you guys have any questions, hit Jerry up, post them in the group. Watch for the post that's going to go up for any of you that missed it. We are going to be doing special trainings, exclusive trainings for specific people in specific parts of our specific stages of this, people that are just getting in, people that are at this stage and this stage and this stage. We're going to have a link. You'll see the post, go fill that out, get on the list. And it's going to be 100% free, no pitching, no nothing. I'm going to make this group, everybody, not just me, everybody in here is contributing. We're going to make this group better than any paid group. And this is just the free stuff. So Jerry, thanks, dude. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, sounds good, man.
Okay, see you guys.